in today's world, we focus more on work. We don't really focus on our personal life very much anymore. That is one of the biggest things that comes into play and is a problem. What this speech is about work-life balance and how to help fix it, make it stronger than what it already is, and what consequences and what causes things to happen the way it does. In this speech, I will talk about the man that I interviewed for it, what all the struggles he went through, things that other people have said to help fix the issue, and how to make it better than what it is. And then another thing is like how, when I go into the workplace, what I would want to expect just from doing this project. So the person that I did my interview of was actually my father, Justin Roller. He has always worked his whole life, and he's also had us in his life. So of course he's always had to figure out how to balance between work and life. He has worked for a company for the past 15 years. It is called Evonik, but it used to be known as a plant from Eli Lilly called Tippy Labs. He has done different things there. One of the things that he is doing now is he is now a supervisor, which is a better job for him that he loves, but he definitely had to go through a lot of struggles to get to where he is. One of the things that he did was understanding that he needed to go to not necessarily college, but more or less like our junior college, like our community college that we have here. So he went to Ivy Tech and he got his business degree, and well, his degree in business management, which has helped him get to where he is right now. Then another thing is that he has been almost as well, he's sort of been a single parent since I was 10, so for about 22 years. And he had to realize when he got divorced from my mother that he had to become solely one of the main focuses in our life. So that's a little bit about him. He is also, in the interview that we had, he had stated that he has been through a lot personally, and not only in his work, but also in his personal life, that has caused either stress or realizing that communication is huge and is key. If you don't have communication in life, you forget things that you're supposed to tell other people. You start to get more stress on your body and yourself because you feel like that you need to hold everything in, but you don't. So some of the stuff that he has given up is hanging out with more of his friends. As he's gotten older, he realizes that family is one of the most important things, and friendship with other people is not necessarily a big thing to him, more or less being there for his kids and his family. So some of the information that outside researchers say, according to Laura Hutton from the Australian Institute of Business on April 20th in 2017, she states that relationships are built and can be maintained by positive encounters with others. Communication will be a key to this process. So I agree 100% when she says if you don't have communication, you don't really have an understanding of either what's going on in your personal life or in your work life, and then it's not easy. If you don't understand that you have to have a positive work life and a positive personal life in order to go on without having horrible stress or being upset about things, that it's not going to be easy to have the best work-life balance. It had, in my research and findings and stuff, it had said that a lot of people go through depression because, one, they're not happy in their normal personal life, and then they bring it into their work life. So then it kind of correlates with one another. Ryan Zilka from Harvard Business Review, in an article on March 9th of 2017, from the article, "If you want to be happy at work, you have to have a life outside of it," states, "We spend most of our adult waking hours working. Half of Americans continue to work when they reach their mid-60s, and according to a 2015 Gallup survey, full-time American employees work an average of 47 hours a week." Now, that is a lot of hours if you think about it, and in that time, you also have to figure out what you want to do outside of work, whether that be going to dinner with friends, hanging out with family, just having your own personal time. You have to understand that there's only 24 hours in a day, and sometimes you don't have enough hours to do everything you want to do. So another thing that I found interesting is a statistical report from according to Gretchen Livingston of the Pew Research Center. She did an article called "The Rise of Single Fathers" on July 22nd. July 2nd of 2013, stating the number of single father households has increased from being less than 300,000 to more than 2.6 million in 2011. Now that is a huge, huge number that has increased. So doing the interview, realizing that he did do a lot on his own, but he also had his family there to help him, was a huge thing. And a lot of people state that single mothers have it hard, but most of the time, I personally believe that single dads have it harder. They have to realize that they have to bring in the money and also be there. So in a sense, they have to be both the mom and the dad, just like a mom has to be both mom and dad. But in this case, I found it more understanding to put it towards this, since I did interview a man that is a single dad. So in order to solve the problems that are at hand with work-life balance is, one, to be more positive and to check your priorities. So if you don't understand what priorities you need to have before others, then things will become out of focus and unscheduled, and that's not really a good thing to happen. You also have to understand that some things are not always in your control. So at work, you can't help if a situation happens and you are a supervisor like Justin is, and you have to stay over. So you have to stay over the clock, which you would have had to go and pick up your kids. So you have to keep in communication between the people who are involved with you and your kids. So you have to understand that sometimes things are just out of your hands and you can't help it. Discussing the consequences and causes to work-life balance issues is from this awesome woman named Kimberly Leonard from the U.S. News, from the article "Employees Tend Not to Use Generous Benefits" in 2015, goes on saying that a recent study released by researchers at Harvard Business School and Stanford University found that stress at work is just as damaging to a person's health as secondhand smoke. Now, we all know that secondhand smoke is not as bad as actually smoking from the actual cigarette, but you can give someone secondhand smoke that gets secondhand smoke cancer just from that, even if they're not smoking. So if you are stressed at work or you're stressed at home, you're rubbing all that off on someone else. So therefore, your life outside of work is becoming unbalanced. So you need to remember and understand that whatever happens in your life at work also can happen at your home life as well. Also understanding that family can get into the way of things, your friends can, so you have to understand that not everything you do is easy in life, so your friends and family have to understand that as well. Another thing is that when you don't have a balanced work and life situation going on, that spending time with friends at work, you're most likely to do that than you are at home. When you're at home, you have other things that are going through your head that you have to focus on. So spending time outside of work with other people tends to become a little bit harder. Another thing that was interesting to find out is that a lot of people do end up going back to school as adults. So that's one of the things that Justin did do, is that he realized that he needed to go back to school to better his education, meaning that his life became a little bit out of whack because he had to go to school, go to work, pick up his kids, and then be able to be there for his kids with anything he had to do. So that's another thing, and it's another consequence, is you lose a lot of sleep and you lose a lot of the time that you want to do by yourself. Now, when I go into the workplace, I understand that things are out of my control, that I cannot fix everything, and to be more positive, and that communication is key. If you don't have communication, then your life is completely out of whack, whether that's a communication in person or on a phone or in a text. Now, to close it all up, work-life balance is not an easy thing in life. So many obstacles can come in your way in both those areas. Understanding that if you are not willing to work in life to fix something, that it will never be the way you want it to be. So communication's key. Work-life balance is not the greatest thing to handle, but as long as you stay positive, you get things done to what you want to do, and you realize what your priorities are, you're set. So that's my speech.